evening. Welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. I'm Anthony Murphy. This is Live Irish Myths, episode number 275. This evening we are returning to that wonderful book that we've been reading for a while now, P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland. I hope that wherever you are in the world, things are good with you and that the weather is nice. I say that hesitantly, because the weather in Ireland today was what we would call a little bit wintry. In fact, when I got into the car this morning to drop my youngest to school, the temperature gauge was reading 4 degrees Celsius and the frost light was on. So much for April, spring and summer being just around the corner. It feels very much like winter is just around the corner. It hasn't yet let go of its icy grip on us, but hopefully things will change soon. We're getting a lot of rain in Ireland. It's been raining incessantly since last July. I kid you not. So, any of you viewers who are thinking of moving here, just bear that in mind. The landscape is lovely, but the weather, sometimes, it just ain't so nice. First to comment tonight, and if you are watching, please do join in the conversation by commenting, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook. We will share your comments. First in the house tonight is Elaine Dent Lingenfelter. As usual, she tells me that it's a lovely 77 Fahrenheit or 25 Celsius in central Texas. Very nice. And how very lucky of Elaine to get a view of last Monday's total eclipse of the sun. A rare sight indeed. Wayne Bird is saying hello, Anthony, and hello, everyone. Stormy and unsettled weather here in the UK. Well, ditto. The only consolation is a nice view of Bouteilles at night, the herdsman of the sky. Brilliant stuff, Wayne. Glad to hear that I'm not the only one who watches the stars in the evening time. Tuesday, Thompson is wishing us all a happy Mythology Monday. Many happy returns. Jacqueline Kelly Adams is in the house. Hello and good day to you, Anthony. It's sunny and blue skies here in the Columbia Gorge. Well, I'm delighted to hear that. I wonder what the temperature is like, but that sounds very nice. Ali is saying hello from Tucson and is excited for another episode. Brilliant stuff, Ali. A very good afternoon to all our friends in Arizona. And Scott Doherty is saying happy Monday, everyone. Many happy returns and great to see you. I hope Bill is in good form as well. Lily Shamble says, evening. Turnonawa, Lily. Conasata too. How are you? Joe Butler, Auntie Joe, is saying hello from Colorado, where it's unseasonably warm and spring is everywhere. Send a few degrees this way, would you? Because it ain't warm here today. And it's blustery and quite cloudy and doing heavy showers. I know, your heart bleeds. Rex Fortenberry says, greetings, fellow earthlings. Ready for my weekly mythical trip to High Brazil. A very good afternoon to you, Rex, in Louisiana. I hope everything is great over there. Burr Whelan is saying, hi, Anthony, hi, Tua. It's like a miserable November here in Dublin. Brrr. Yes, indeed. It is just like November. Except for it's still bright. It's 8:05 in the evening. That's the only difference. Michael Pike is saying, greetings, Anthony and the mighty Tua. Good afternoon to you, Michael. Hope you're in good form. Lily Shambles is telling us there was a mixture of sunshine and hail showers all day. Yeah. Copy and paste. Edina Sparks is saying windy Monday here in New Mexico. Winds upwards of 40 miles an hour. I hope everyone's well. But are they warm and dry winds, Edina? Because I think that would make a slight difference. It's windy, but it's cold here. Elaine says, Anthony, you have 30 days from today to get the weather in shape for my visit. No pressure then. Yeah. We keep saying over here, we are overdue, badly overdue. We've built up a lot of credit with the weather gods. We're badly overdue a good summer. Monica Regley is in the house. Good evening to you, Monica. Hello to you and to everybody in your part of the world, which, all things being right, is Switzerland. Maybe you're not there, but hopefully you are. Archaeastronomy Database, whose tie says, greetings, friends. Glad to have made it this week. Been running around doing lots of exciting stuff. Pray tell. Do tell. Tell us more. Making some discoveries, I hope, Ty. Mid-50s so far, says Jacqueline. Breezy. Seems to be a common theme. Lexi Erickson, sunshiny in Denver, 23 Celsius. We are to get rain today. Hello, Anthony, Tom, Barbara, Joe, Elaine, and all the mighty two. Brilliant stuff. And good afternoon to you, Lexi. Has everything settled down after all the celebrations and the toing and froing and the plotting and scheming with Barbara Murphy? Alan Hoskins says, hi, Anthony. Hi, everyone. Not out dog walking this week. Home in the workshop and framing some photos for another photographer. The wonderful Tua for company. Hope all well. All good here, Alan. I'm glad to hear that you are safely indoors and not out in that less than balmy weather. Anne McCallum is here. Hello, Anton, and all the mighty too. I hope everyone is well. Sorry it's so wintry there. We had 27 Celsius and beautifully sunny yesterday. Today, lovely and sunny again at 19. More like summer than spring. I think the highest temperature we had today was about 10, and this evening it's about 8, but this morning it was 4. Monica is producing 3 kilograms of bread dough right now for 40 kids tomorrow. Carrot cream soup for them as well. All in production. Brilliant stuff. Sounds nice, Monica. I would like to try some of that. But I don't think that's going to be possible. But maybe someday, you know. Michael confirms that I'm in good fettle. Good to hear it. Where am I? Probably a bit of snow tomorrow. I was going to say that's Switzerland, isn't it? Kind of half the year round, probably. Yeah. I keep seeing repeat comments. It's just like, what is going on here? We'll try to find the new ones and not the ones I've read already. Joe is telling Monica that menu sounds delicious. Lovely kids. I agree. And Monica is in Sligo in a week. Brilliant. Bring some nice weather with you. Certainly bring some dry weather with you if possible, you know. We were told over the last number of days that there was to be something of a heat wave coming. But the weather forecast has changed, because when I read it yesterday, it was kind of saying from midweek it's going to be mild. But I'm reading today and it says Wednesday 8 to 12 degrees, Thursday 11 to 14 degrees. That doesn't sound anything except normal. Friday cloudy start, showers die out with sunny spells, turning milder with highest temperatures of 11 in the northwest and 16 in the southeast. Largely dry over the weekend, though it will remain dull and cloudy for many with a chance of isolated light showers. Doesn't sound all that promising, really. But Friday, I'll be delighted if the weather was to turn out even half decent, because Friday is the next of our series of Newgrange Farm Archaeological Park and Newgrange Chamber tours. There'll be a few announcements before we get going on the reading. Barbara Murphy is in the house. Hello all. Facebook is being weird and just turned you on. Careful now. Right. Strange. Is that just Barbara's Facebook, I hope? Because we have been having issues with Facebook lately. And just to say, if you are watching on Facebook and there are stutters or there are problems with the feed, don't forget we're also streaming consecutively. No, not consecutively. Consistently. No, what's the word? At the same time? The brain isn't working. For a wordsmith, sometimes words fail me. Yeah. Concurrently on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Mythical Ireland if you're on the web. If you're on an app, a YouTube app, just search for Mythical Ireland. On and off for me too, says Monica. Not good. So just a word to the Facebookers. If you are having problems with the feed, don't forget you can also watch live on YouTube. And touch wood, there tends to be very few issues on YouTube and more problems on Facebook. That is beyond my control, unfortunately. Caroline Dash is in the house. Good evening, all. Good evening to you, Caroline. Hope you're in good form. Thanks for joining us on episode number 275 simultaneously. Yeah, that's good. Good word, Rex. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Yes. When I told my friend that I had lost his thesaurus, he said, Anthony, I'm shocked. There's just no words for it. Tom King is in the house. Shocking busy at the Forge, just mighty. Well, I'm glad, despite your busyness, Tom, that you still find time to tune in to live Irish Myths. Hello there, Anthony and the mighty Tua. It's a blustery evening in the Boyne Valley. It's story time and the dram topped up. Enjoy. Yes, indeed. It is very blustery. How do you keep the Forge lit? I suppose the wind probably helps a little bit. But yeah, keeping warm is another challenge, you know. And Caroline's reaction to the thesaurus joke is groan. Yes. When a truckload of thesauruses spilled out on the freeway, motorists were aghast, shocked, dismayed, etc., etc., etc. Yes, indeed. Michael Trott is saying hello via Facebook. Let's see how it goes then, Tua. Yeah, I was just saying, Michael, if you were listening there, that there are apparently some issues with the Facebook feed. But if you are having problems, do switch over to YouTube, where there usually aren't problems, funnily enough. So before we get started, I will keep an eye on the comments and welcome new people as they drop in. Just to say that there is still time. I know I've extended it just a little bit. There's still time to join the Mythical Ireland newsletter, the email newsletter on the website, because tomorrow morning, I'm going to be sending out a free €10 voucher to every email subscriber at Mythical Ireland. And you can use that against anything in the shop, books and calendars and posters and what do they call, limited edition prints, high quality limited edition prints, and other bits and pieces. So I'm just going to pop in the link for that where you can sign up. And that should come up in your comments on the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. That's mythicalireland.com/pages/newsletter. The email subscribe form is on every page of the website. So if you just go to any page of the website, you should see somewhere on that page. It's usually down near the bottom. At the homepage, it's called Become a Mythical Ireland Insider. And as I say, no matter where you are on the page, it should be visible, or sorry, on the website even, it should be visible to you. So I'm just checking one of the blog posts here. Yes, it's there. You have to scroll down near the bottom of the page. So do subscribe, get your free €10 voucher. I was supposed to send them out today. A little technical hitch, that's all. But they'll be being sent out in the morning. So you still have time to sign up. What else? Yeah, after a lovely tour of Fornox on Saturday morning, I had a lovely group from various parts. And we spent a lovely hour and a half at the monument exploring its archaeology, the history of its excavation, the history of the monument, its location in the landscape, its location in the timeline of the history of Ireland, some genetics, some chat about the geology, the stones that make up the site, its position in the landscape, its astronomical alignments, its possible reference in mythology, the meaning of its place name, and much more. I'm going to run that tour semi-regularly throughout the coming season. There's another one this Saturday. If you're in Ireland and you fancy a tour of Fornox, remember there's no signage at Fornox and there's no official tour there. So if you go there on your own, yes, by all means, you can spend lots of nice time at the monument looking at it. But without the benefit of a guide, you probably won't know all that much about it. So please do have a look at, if you're interested, participating in our next tour. I'm calling it The Wonders of Fornox, and that's on next Saturday. Excuse me, the 20th of April, Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And I've just shared the link where you can book your tickets to that. As a comment, that should come up on the Facebook page and on the YouTube chat. Michael Mayo is in the house. Hope you're well, Mr. Murphy. I'm in good form. Michael, hope you're also in great form. Where are you from? Wouldn't it be interesting if you were a Mayo from Mayo? It's interesting. There are people called Louth. I think it's Lowth. And some of them do live here in County Louth. Fascinating stuff. There is a Mead surname, but it's Meade. I'm not sure if there's a Meath, Meath surname. Is there somebody called Sligo? I wonder, is there a surname for every county? But anyway, hope you're in good form. So I mentioned already the Newgrange Farm tours. The next one is on Friday. Booking information is on yourdaysout.com. That's a third-party site that handles the bookings for that. And we have dates throughout the summer. Most of them are Tuesdays. One is Friday. That's this Friday. All the other dates are Tuesday. There's one Tuesday date left this month. 2 Tuesday dates in May, 2 in June, 2 in July, and 2 in August. Get yourself booked in if you're interested in participating in a tour exploring the wonderfully rich archaeological and mythological history of the fields around Newgrange, contained within Newgrange Farm, and lots and lots and lots to see and talk about and explore. Greetings from Nuach Chalon. There are people named Monaghan as well. That's correct. Absolutely right. Is there a surname Cavan? There's hardly a surname Fermanagh, is there? I have Mayo relatives too, says Lexi. You mean relatives in Mayo or relatives with the surname Mayo? Yeah, interesting stuff. 80 spears in progress, Michael, says Tom. It's like the Battle of Clontarf at the Forge. Just in relation to the Fornox monograph, I have finally heard back from the National Museum in relation to photography of the Fornox finds, which is the main thing holding up the publication of that book. So hopefully they will be forthcoming in the next fortnight and I can get it to print soon. If you have pre-ordered a copy, just hold tight. If you haven't yet pre-ordered your copy, you can do so on the website. And that is at the link that I'm just sharing there. And don't forget that this will be the first ever book published purely about that monument called Fornox. If you want to read about Fornox, you either have to get yourself a whole rake of archaeological books, most of which say the same thing anyway, or the original 1957 excavation report, which is out of print, very hard to get your hands on and expensive too, you know. Michael Trott is telling Tom that it's morning here, so my dram is tea. Well, do you know what? That's I think anything else maybe could be slightly indicative of a problem, you know. Good afternoon from a warm and sunny northern British Columbia, says Hempflower. I'm glad to hear it's warm and sunny. I'm hearing that parts of Canada are basking in mid to high 20s Celsius at the moment. I mean, how lucky are you? It was 4 degrees here in Drogheda this morning. How cold, how wintry, how dreary. So we left off last week in our 22nd episode reading P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland. And we're reading the section all about religion, learning and art and paganism. So we're going to continue on that subject for this evening. Hope you've been enjoying it. I certainly have. I'm learning lots as we go along. I'll probably have to read it again just to make things stick. But you know yourself, that's me, and advancing age, middle age has come upon me and all of that, you know. Anthony, I'm really excited about your Fornox book. Patience is number one. Yeah. And I'm sorry, it was supposed to be published in March, but I want it to be right. And I want it to be as good as it possibly can be. And that just requires hanging on for people who are contributing. 7 degrees here in the northeast, says Caroline. Brrr, wrap yourself up. Get the fire lit, you know. Get a blanket over you, you know. Lexi Erickson, page. We are reading alone. I will be starting halfway down page 292, page 292 for those who are reading along. Michael, what's that surname? Michael Crohor. Tells us in 17th century Ireland, my family, original name unknown, was stolen by British into slavery and servitude, imported to Bristol, England, and renamed as Mayo. Live in Cannock, West Midlands now. Wow. Interesting story. Wow. Fascinating. Interesting too that you know the history but not the original family name. Fascinating stuff. Anyway, good evening to you and thanks for the information. So if you have pre-ordered the Fornox monograph, you should have received an email from the Mythical Ireland website, an automated email with your invoice attached. So just in case you're not sure whether you ordered it. In terms of the mailing list, yeah, I suppose if you're not sure whether you've signed up, try to sign up again. If Your email address is already in the database. You'll be told as much. If not, you'll be sent an email asking you just to confirm signing up. The email newsletter is not, you won't be spammed. Generally, historically, I've only sent out about one email a month. In the future, I'm hoping to send out one a week, but no more than that, except for very important announcements. So your inbox will not be flooded with emails if any of you are worried about that. It's just that, believe it or not, when I'm offering special offers on books, when I have new publications, when I'm offering things like vouchers and 3 for 2 offers and all of that stuff that you guys love, unfortunately, Facebook and Instagram and the other social media channels suppress all of that. So even though there's there's over 100,000 followers on the main Facebook page and the Mythical Ireland community just on Facebook, the vast majority of them don't see those posts because they get suppressed. So the email is a way of guaranteeing that any pertinent information, important information, and special offers are sent your way. And sometimes news and information and new additions to the website and new articles and that sort of thing. Oh, I see there's a 3 monographs bundle in the shop. That's exciting. Yes, you can get a few quid off the 3 monographs if you order all 3. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Mavanwe. So if you go to the shop in the Mythical Ireland website, you'll see there's a bundle of 3 monographs offer. So this section is marked Elemental Oath, and if we're ready, I will proceed, and I'll keep an eye, as I say, on the comments for new arrivals and any questions. But I hope you're comfortable. And just as I speak to you, the clouds are clearing a bit, and I can see there's some reddish orangish clouds up high, which means the sun is setting here in the Boyne Valley. Darkness will soon come on, but you know what? We're not complaining because it's nearly 8:25 in the evening. Summer is on its way. Elemental Oath. No doubt, this ancient elemental worship was the origin of the very general pagan Irish custom of swearing by the elements, or, in other words, giving the elements as guarantee, an oath which it was very dangerous to violate, as is shown by the fate of Lera, King of Ireland, in the time of St. Patrick. In an attempt to exact the Boruva tribute from Leinster, he was defeated and taken prisoner by the Leinstermen, but was released on taking the usual oath, giving as guarantee, i.e. swearing by, quote, the sun and moon, water and air, day and night, sea and land, unquote, that he would never again demand it. But in open violation of his oath, he invaded Leinster for this same tribute in less than 2 years, whereupon, quote, the elements passed a doom of death on Lera, to wit, the earth to swallow him up, the sun to burn him up, and the wind to depart from him, unquote, comma, open quote, so that, close quote, as the Four Masters AD 458 express it, quote, the sun and wind killed him because he had violated them, unquote. For, says an older authority, the Book of the Dun Cow, quote, no one durst violate them at that time, unquote. Yeah, so if you swear by them, you better keep your oath, you know. Ian Whelan is in the house. How high is the moon? You're not the first person to ask me that recently. I didn't read the whole lot of it. I thought the premise was very good. I was just... my main gripe with it, Ian, was the fact that there are absolutely no footnotes or bibliography in it. But I definitely liked the premise of it, and it's a nice little book. I have it here somewhere, definitely. Michael Trott says, my oath. Later, it's oats porridge for breakfast. How long the worship of idols and of the elements remained in the country, it is now impossible to say. Isn't it so funny? We said this a few times recently, but the religiosity of the language, you know, this idea of worshipping idols. I mean, if it's anything but a statue of the crucifixion, or, you know, the Virgin Mary, or, you know, Saint Joseph, or, you know, it's idolatry. It's that loaded language that comes with religion. This idea that if you create an image of something, that it's an idol, But it is probable that the practices lurked in remote places far into Christian times, and that is undoubtedly true. And in fact, it could be said that the practice lingered until today. We need not be surprised at this when we know that, according to the testimony of the Venerable Bede in his ecclesiastical history, idolatry was openly practiced in England, even by some of the kings of the Heptarchy, in spite of the exertions of the clergy in the latter part of the 7th century. And it has been already more than once remarked in this book that traces of pagan worship have remained in Ireland to the present day. There you go, as if we hadn't just announced that. Of course, this book was published in 1903. So the Four Masters, Mavanwe, is a reference to the annals of the Four Masters, compiled in the 1600s, compiled in the 17th century, just as the old Gaelic order was collapsing. Four monks, were they all monks or were some of them lay brothers, basically did a circuit of all the monasteries, collecting all the annalistic information to compile a master chronicle of the history of Ireland. They are very valuable, along with, well, there are several annals, of course. The Annals of Ulster, I think, being the next most important, and there's the Annals of Loch Kay and the Annals of Chirnvas and the Annals of Chirnock, and several others. So that's what the AFM, the Annals of the Four Masters. There is a book all about the Annals of the Four Masters, which is a very good book if you're interested in learning more. Oh, trying to get the book out and it's pushing back in. So, Little Rabbit Hole, Bernadette Cunningham, The Annals of the Four Masters, Irish History, Kingship and Society in the early 17th century, and that is published by Four Courts Press and was published in first published in 2010, paperback edition 2014. There was something about the form and substance of the Annals of the Four Masters, compiled in the 1630s, that allowed them to become accepted as an authentic, reliable and comprehensive record of Gaelic society. Drawing on a rich heritage of manuscript sources on Irish history, these annals have long been regarded as an essential element of the cultural capital of a community that valued its Gaelic past. The Four Masters' approach to making their own annals conveys their regard for the older written records that had preserved for them in manuscript the history of their ancestors. Can I get the names? Michael O'Clery, is it? I just wanted to find out the names of the four compilers. Yeah. This book explores the making of the Annals of the Four Masters in early 17th century Ireland. The Four Masters, Michael O'Clery, OFM, OFM is Franciscan, isn't it? Cú O'Clery. I'm not sure if he was related, actually, to, it probably says it somewhere, Forfasa o Mail Chomara and Cú o Dovganon were all trained historians from Gaelic learned families from southwest Ulster and North Connacht. The lengthy annals they compiled in the 1630s covered the history of Ireland from the biblical flood down to their own day. Fascinating stuff. I hope you agree. And I'm sure that sufficiently answers your question, Vanway. Yes, this looks great. Another exciting book. Momentarily opening a new tab in Google Chrome and typing in, where can I get this book? Order now. I love your rabbit holes, says Barbara Murphy. It might be a religious or authoritative history title, given some chaos of the time. Well, the thing that makes it interesting is the annals. The reason we know they're very accurate in terms of historically, in the era of Christianity, in the era from AD onwards, we can look at dates of eclipses and other events, plagues, etc., and battles, and we know they're very accurate. they're accurate to the day. However, when you go into prehistory, BC, BCE, they become muddier and muddier and muddier. And of course, it seems that a lot of the ecclesiastics tried to tie in the history of this island with the confirmed or the accepted biblical history, which means that they, in their mind, it all began with the great flood, the flood of Noah. Good old Bede, says Caroline Dash. Yes, I have his. And don't be confused by the title, because this is a quote, a source often quoted in Irish books. Bede, the ecclesiastical history of the English people, and that is available as an Oxford World's Classics paperback. So it's, I would imagine, quite, what's the word, affordable, as it were. But I see Bede referenced in a huge amount of Irish publications. Now, before I read on, just checking up on the rest of the comments. Very thorough answer, thank you. The tab is open. I know you too well. I think it has to do with the Historia Ecclesiastica he wrote. Is that Bede, is it? John Inman says it's 20 degrees Celsius in Eureka, California. Before I converted to Roman Catholicism, the Protestants who go on about idols never paid mind of it. It's a funny thing, isn't it? You know, idolatry became a part of the is it a schism? Is that what we call what began in the 16th century with the Reformation? And it's a big part of the difference between, I understand, Protestantism and Catholicism. We have, if you've ever been to Spain, I've seen some very interesting statues in Spanish churches. They look a lot more made up. They look a lot more sort of plasticky, garish than they do here in Ireland. But anyway, I'd like to know what makes him so venerable, says Rex. And I can't honestly tell you the answer. Okay, I think I've caught up. And if I missed anyone, please do forgive me and do pop your comment in again. The Pagan Heaven and a Future State is section 9 of this chapter. Names and situations. There was a belief in a land of everlasting youth and peace, beautiful beyond conception, always inhabited by fairies and called by various names. Chirnan Nog, i.e. the land of the youthful people, or it's usually ever youthful people. Ibresil, or Ibresil, the land of Bresil, and that is usually associated with the mystical island out in the Western Ocean, in the Atlantic Ocean, that was said to have appeared to observers from the West Coast, Connemara and places like that, once every 7 years. Tirnam Yo, the land of the ever-living. Moimel, the plain of pleasures, for which Chenvai Throgai, pronounced Tenva Krogi, was another name. Maimon, the plain of sports. Tir Tarngary, the land of promise. And Chirnasorka, the land of light. I really like that one. That's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking a margin note here. Sometimes it is described as situated far out in the Western Ocean. Sometimes it was deep down under the sea or under a lake or well. Sometimes it was in a hollow she or fairy hill. Perhaps it would be more correct to say that there were many such happy lands situated in those various places. The inhabitants were the she or fairies who were immortal and who lived in perfect peace and in a perpetual round of sensuous but harmless and sinless pleasures. Why do we even bring that into it? Like, you know, sinless. I mean, always the influence of the ecclesiastics is seen. And sometimes just the author of a book at a particular time needs to emphasize these things in case issue should be taken with his or her publication, and that the not what they call them, the censors would prevent its publication, or worse still, it would be burned or something like that. Although I always thought if somebody ever burns one of my books and says, down with this sort of thing, my sales will probably go through the roof. Barbara is asking to please send the cold and rain her way. You can keep the wind, as we get plenty of that. That was a terrible dad joke. Speaking of which, I think I showed you this, but let me reveal it again. A birthday present on the recent big birthday. Terribly cheesy dad jokes. For example, now, I'm sure when I read a couple of these, that your response will be, Anthony, we will never again complain about one of your own jokes, which are much more funny. What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor? Where's me tractor? According to a recent survey, inserting musical instruments into sentences goes largely unnoticed. Don't you hate people who use big words just to make themselves look more perspicacious? Actually, the original version I heard of that was, don't you hate people who use big words just to make themselves look photosynthesis? I bought a new muzzle for my pet duck the other day. Nothing fancy, but it fits the bill. Mavanway, I don't get the tractor joke. I don't have to explain it, do I? So it's not. It's literally, what did the farmer say when he lost his tractor? Where's me tractor? It's just supposed to be humorous. I can't believe they gave you ammunition, says Gary. Yes, indeed. Okay, one more. I thought I invented a brand new colour, but it turned out to be a pigment of my imagination. And lots more where they came from. You're reading the wrong book, says Lexi. Yes, let me get back to it. In nearly all the accounts of the old accounts of this happy land, the absence of wickedness is expressly mentioned. The man from Tir Tarngry tells Cormac that it was, quote, a land wherein there is naught save truth, and there is neither age nor decay, nor gloom, nor sadness, nor envy, nor jealousy, nor hatred, nor haughtiness, unquote. The absence of sin and such like characteristics are, of course, additions by Christian scribes. Really, Patrick Weston, I'd never have thought that. Didn't I just say that a few minutes ago? And Caroline Dash says, we have a bad puns daily calendar. How exciting, a new pun every day. By the way, somebody ripped the 5th month out of my calendar. I'm dismayed. Moving swiftly on. In ancient Irish romantic tales, we find many descriptions of this pagan heaven, bearing a general resemblance to each other. One which pictures Maimon, plain of sports, situated far out in the Western Ocean. The land that is elsewhere called Maimel or I Brazil, may be read, translated by Professor Kuno Meyer in Alfred Nutt's work, The Voyage of Bran. This composition, which is in poetry, is ascribed by scholars to the 7th century. The following poetical description of the fairy king Midger's heavenly country under the Shee of Briley, the hill now called Slieve Golry near Arda in the County Longford, will give the reader an excellent idea of these happy abodes. And of course, Briley mentioned in Tuchmark Etain, the wooing of Etain. Good night to everybody from warm Italy. That's Lucas Sicardi. Buona serata, Lucas, and I hope you're in good form. Ciao. In Mid Wales too, surrounded by tractors. But is that relevant to the joke? Some laugh, some people laughing, some people like Alan saying, "Make it stop." Wow. I'm totally underappreciated in my time. Hemflower says I once starred in a theatrical performance on puns. It was called A Play on Words. Brilliant, I like that. David Duggan tells us I'm now in hospital due to my peekaboo accident. I'm now in the ICU. Yes. Aotearoa. Am I pronouncing that right, by the way? Is it Aotearoa? Please tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. Nah, it's wonderful. Keep them coming. Alan recants, regrettably. O Bayfind, wilt thou come with me to the wonderful land that is mine, where the hair is like the blossom of the golden suborca, where the tender body is as fair as snow. There's a musical version of this by Pádraigín ní Uallacháin, and it is gorgeous. And you can hear some of that music on my video about the honoring the ancestors at Douth. I believe it's the same tune, the same words put to music. The music, I'm not sure if that's original. I think that might have been Pádraigín's composition. Oh, fair lady, will you come with me? Or is it that? Or is it another? Just give me I've forgotten music. Or is it the Bridges Way? And that one's about the Viking boats, the stormy sea, meaning that the scribe can relax tonight because he won't be facing any foreign pirates. But what's the? Sorry, I'm down a rabbit hole here. If it wasn't immediately obvious, says you. Tell us what we didn't know. Fair lady, will you come with me? Do, 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 do. I don't know if you can hear that. If you can't, I'll share. It's the very first Bridges Way pilgrimage back in 30. Yeah, she's just chanting it in Irish first, but then she starts to sing in the English translation. Can you hear that? No sound but me. Yeah, that's the worst of it. Yeah, that's the one. I'll share it with you, the video. And it's the song that begins near the beginning of the video. Share, copy. Have a listen to it later or even put it on. What is the song called? In case you wanted to purchase the music, "The Land of Stars," sung by Pádraigín ní Uallacháin, and I believe it's based on these verses. I'm pretty sure it's based on these verses, which are out of the book of the Dun Cow, Laura na Hira, and this is in relation to the description of King Midyr's. Apparently, Midir is pronounced like Mithir, Mither, heavenly country, under the Shea of Briley, near Arda in County Longford. O Bayfind, wilt thou come with me to a wonderful land that is mine, where the hair is like the blossom of the golden sawarka, where the tender body is as fair as snow. There shall be neither grief nor care. White are the teeth, black the eyebrows. Pleasant to the eye the number of our host. On every cheek is the hue of the foxglove. Crimson of the plain is each brake. Delightful to the eye, the blackbird's eggs, though pleasant to behold are the plains of Inishfoil. That's a poetic name for Ireland. Rarely wouldst thou think of them after frequenting the great plain. Though intoxicating thou deemest the ales of Inishfoil, more intoxicating are the ales of the great land, the wonderful land, the land I speak of, where youth never grows to old age. Warm, sweet dreams traverse the land, the choicest mead and of wine, handsome people without blemish, conception without sin, without stain. Oh, it's beautiful. And then there's a line in it that just goes, ah! We see everyone on every side, and no one seeth us. The cloud of Adam's transgression has caused this concealment of us from them. In other words, sinners can't see us. O lady, if thou comest to my valiant people, a diadem of gold shall be on thy head. Flesh of swine, all fresh, banquets of new milk and ale, shalt thou have with me there, O Bayfind. The original, with rigidly literal translation, may be seen in O'Curry, Manners and Customs, Volume 2, page 191. And Dr. Douglas Hyde has given a metrical translation in his Literary History of Ireland, page 103. We'll read that, because that will be slightly less archaic in its language. Will we read that? How does that sound? I doubt that any of you will protest. Can you share a link? Not good, says Michael Pike. What's not good? Was that one of the jokes, I presume? I'm sorry. Yes. So we're looking for... So we're departing just a moment. We're going down another rabbit hole. What a surprise. I know. But we are going to page 103 of Hyde's Literary History of Ireland. I happen to have a copy. Hopefully this is the same edition so that 103 corresponds with the 103 mentioned. There we go. In the saga of the wooing of Etain, and apparently I've totally butchered that pronunciation. The Middle Irish pronunciation would be more like Eidena than Etain. In the saga of the wooing of Etain, we meet with what is substantially the same description. She's the wife of one of the Tuatha De Danann, is reborn as a mortal, and weds the King of Ireland. Her former husband, Midler, still loves her, follows her, and tries to win her back. She is unwilling, and he chants to her this description of the land, to which he would lure her. Come back to me, lady, to love and to shine, in the land that was thine in the long ago, where of primrose hue is the golden hair, and the limbs are as fair as the wreathed snow. To the lakes of delight that no storm may curl, where the teeth are as pearl, the eyes as sloes, which alight whenever they choose to seek, on the bloom of a cheek where the foxglove glows. Each brake is alive with the flowers of spring, whence the merles sing with their shy retreat. Though sweet be the meadows of Inishfoil, our beautiful vale is far more sweet. Though pleasant the mead be of Inishfoil, more pleasant the ale of that land of mine, a land of beauty, a land of truth, where youth shall never grow old or pine. Fair rivers brighten the vale divine. That's the vale divine. There are choicest of wine and of mead therein, and heroes handsome and women fair are in dalliance there without stain or sin. From thence we see, though we be not seen, we know what has been and shall be again. And the cloud that was raised by the first man's fall has concealed us all from the eyes of men. Then come with me, lady, to joys untold, and a circlet of gold on thy head shall be, banquets of milk and of wine most rare. Thou shalt share, O lady, and share with me. I hope you're enjoying Pádraig Niulachan's beautiful singing. Does the book include the original Irish? Neither seems to. Hyde seems to just have the first verse in Irish. A Bayfind in Ragalim I tír ninglad hifil rind, is bar sovercha fult ound, is dashnech to corp coined. And that's the only he only has the first in Irish. So I wonder whether the original with translation is in O'Curry's Manners and Customs, Volume 2. Now, I didn't see Caitlin Moon. Is Josie Weatherford here? Maybe they'll know. But perhaps O'Curry's Manners and Customs is something that can be downloaded. I'm not sure if it's out of print. O'Curry being sort of 19th century, it's possible to get a copy of that. Or maybe you'd like to buy one. I don't know. The name, and we're back to page 295 of A Social History of Ancient Ireland. The name Tír Tairngrí is often found not only in the tales, but in the Christian legends of the saints. Saint Brendan had been praying for some secure, delightful land, remote from the haunts of men. And an angel said to him, "Arise, O Brendan, for God hath given to thee what thou hast sought, Tír Tairngrí." And that's in Stokes's Lives of the Saints, page 252. After this, the angel directs him how to find it, and it was in search of this promised happy land that Brendan went on his celebrated voyage out on the Western Ocean. Pardon me. The name Tír Tairngrí is a translation of the scriptural name of the land of promise. It is of great antiquity, for it is found in the 8th and 9th century glosses of Zeus, Zeuss, but the idea of the land itself is derived from the pagan legend of the happy fairyland. Josie Weatherford is asking if I saw her question above. Did I miss it, or did I... okay. When Midir is addressing... why does it disappear like that? Bayfind in the poem, is that another name for Ethane, or is it another story? My very shallow and probably deficient understanding is that Bayfind is like a word that's used to address a lady or a female, but it is a first name, I think. Of course, I can't find it in the dictionary. Where did we also see Bayfind? Was that in Arnya Fingen, or was it in one of the Toynbo? What's the one that has Frech? Toynbo Frech. Another rabbit hole opening right up. Let me just check. Where's my Toynbo Frech? No, I'm not going to find that now. Can't immediately find my copy of Toynbo Frech. Oh yeah, am I thinking of Bavine, which is another personal name? Yeah, Bayfind and Bavine seem to be cognates. Let me just check this. You have to be careful of my sources here. Yeah, one website here, which is a myth and folklore wiki, is saying Bavin and Bayfind are alternately described as either the wife of Eid Allen, a god, or Idath, a mortal man. She is mentioned in multiple sources as the mother of comic hero Freyk, the main character in Toynbee Freyk. Yeah. In the Fenian cycle of Irish tales, Bavin is a beautiful giantess of aristocratic bearing who seeks protection from the Fianna when an ugly giant pursues her. The epithet Bayfin literally means fair woman, is applied to the heroine Etain by Midger in Tuckmark Etain. Yeah, there you go. So he's just literally addressing her as fair woman, Bayfin. Yeah. It's not strictly a name in that sense. It's like an appellation or almost not quite a nickname, but a moniker. Would a collection of rabbit holes be known as a warren? Yeah, a warren. Yes, indeed, a warren. A warren cluster. Ah, okay, that makes sense, says Josie, because it's the name of a few women of that she in the Acal of Nashanorach, the colloquy of the ancients. Portugine does, and McCallum tells us, does have the lyrics of the song in Irish as well as in English. Yes, indeed. And I think they're probably in the album sleeve. I have it somewhere, but don't ask me where. Because the answer would be, I do not know. This pagan heaven legend did not escape the notice of Geraldus Cambrensis, our friend Gerald of Wales. We've spoken of him on many occasions. He tells the story of the Phantom Island, as he calls it, off the western coast, and how, on one occasion when it appeared, some men rowed out towards it and shot a fiery arrow against it, which fixed it. Fixed it? That's from his Topographia Hibernica, which I... Two XII, which is what? 12. Yes, the second part. And I'm not sure because the sections are numbered differently. But there is plenty of mentions of islands here. This is another rabbit hole. The islands, two islands in one of which no one dies, the other and no animal of the female sex can go. There's a lake in the north of Munster which contains two islands. Island in Ulster frequented by good and other evil spirits. An island where human corpses exposed in the open do not putrefy. The northern islands, almost all of which are held by the Norwegians. The island that was at first unstable then was made stable by means of fire. Phantom Island, yes, here we go. Young men rowed out from the island nearest to it and sent them over to it in a rowing boat. When they had approached so near that they were on the point of disembarking, the island disappeared entirely from before their eyes as if descending into the sea. It appeared again in the same way on the following day, only, however, to play a similar trick on the same young men. On the third day, they followed the advice of a certain old man in first throwing at the island as they approached it an arrow of red-hot iron, and then disembarking, they found the land stable and habitable. So, in other words, they basically hooked like an anchor to it, you know. Good. I shall return to the text because I fear I'm rabbit holing too much. Too many warrens. To this day, the legend remains as vivid as ever, and the people believe that if they could succeed in throwing fire on it from their boat, it would fix it as it did before the time of Geraldus. Immortality of the soul. Sorry, I missed a paragraph. The happy land then was the abode of the spiritual and immortal fairy people, but it was not for human beings except a few individuals who were brought thither by the fairies, as will be told now. Immortality of the soul, this section is called. We know from Caesar, Diodorus Siculus, and other classical writers that the ancient Gauls or Celts taught, as one of their tenets, that the soul was immortal, and that after death it passed from one human body to another, and this, it appears, applied to all human beings. But in Irish literature, I cannot find anything to warrant the conclusion that the pagan Irish believed that the souls of all men were immortal, or that the spirits of those who died were rewarded or punished in the other world for their conduct in this, or in fact that their spirits existed at all after death. Interesting, though, all the same. And he says in a footnote that the statement is a correct inference from the evidence from the ancient native documents, but it is made with this reservation that, in consequence of the wholesale destruction of our books, the full evidence may not be before us. And he talks about one Christian record, a remarkable expression of Tyrconn's annotations on the life of St. Patrick, written in the 7th century. The pagan king Lera, rejecting the teaching of St. Patrick and expressing a determination to be buried pagan fashion, standing up armed in his grave, is made to say to the saint, for the pagans are accustomed to be buried armed with their weapons ready, face to face, to the day of Erdaha among the Magi or the Druids, i.e., the day of the judgment of the Lord. This would seem to imply that the Druids had a day of judgment, called by them Erdaha, corresponding with the Christian day of judgment, which again would indirectly imply that they held the doctrine of the immortality of the soul. But this, besides being an isolated statement, has so decided a Christian complexion that it would be unsafe to draw any conclusions from it. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Joyce. A few individuals became immortal in fairyland, and some other few lived on after death, appearing as other men or in the shapes of animals, as will be presently related. But these are all palpable exceptions and are put forward as such in the legends. See all this question discussed in M. de Joubinville's Cycle Mythologique, page 344, if you can get your hands on it. A few individuals were brought by fairies to the happy otherworld and became immortal, and the time passed there so obscurely and pleasantly that a whole century appeared only the length of a year or so. Prince Connla, son of Conn the Hundred Fighter, King of Ireland in the 2nd century, was carried off in a crystal boat by a fairy maiden before the eyes of his father and friends, and was never seen on earth again. And that's in Joyce's Old Celtic Romances, page 106. Once a person got to fairyland, he could never return, except indeed on a short visit, always in a boat or on horseback, merely to take a look at his native land. But if once he touched his mother earth, the spell of youth and immortality was broken, and he immediately felt the consequences. Bran, the son of Feivel, had been sailing with his crew among the Happy Islands for hundreds of years, though they thought it was only the length of an ordinary voyage. When they returned to the coast of Kerry, one man jumped ashore against solemn warning, but fell down instantly and became a heap of ashes. Oisin, the son of Finn, did not fare quite so badly when he returned to Ireland riding an enchanted steed after his 300 years' sojourn in Tirnanog, which he thought only 3 years. Traversing his old haunts, the wonder of all the strange people he met for his size and beauty, he, on one occasion, in trying to lift a great stone, overbalanced himself and had to leap to the ground, when he instantly became a withered, bony, feeble old man, while his fairy steed galloped off and never returned. Lera, son of Cruthan, king of Connacht, went with 50 followers to Moymel to aid the fairy king Fiachna Macretach against a rival fairy king who had made war on him. Fiachna led them to the shore of a lake called Enloch, and all dived down and soon came to Moymel. After defeating the enemy, Lera and his 50 men were permitted to visit their native place on horseback, but Fiachna warned them not to dismount. On their arrival, their friends were overjoyed and besought them to stay, but Lera cried out, "Do not approach or touch us. We have only come to bid you all farewell." So saying, they returned to the Sidhe, where Lera now rules, as fairy king jointly with Fiachna. Interesting. King Under Mountain, we call some of the myths about kings waiting to be brought back at the end of time. What about King Under Lake? Valencia Bernardini is saying, good evening from a windy and stormy Glastonbury. Stay safe over there, Valentina. Hope you're in good form. Immortal theory runs through so many stories, says Samantha Healy. Yes, indeed. In some tales, however, mortals who are detained in the Sidhe are represented as thoroughly miserable. Dian, who had been a young noble on earth among the Fianna, comes to see Caillte out of the fairy mound of Mulla Sidhe at Assaroe beside Ballyshannon. Caillte asks how it fares with him, on which Dian replies that though of food and raiment there was abundance, yet he would rather be the lowest and most despised drudge among the servants of the Fianna than be the prince that he was in fairyland. This is almost exactly what the shade of the mighty hero Achilles says to Ulysses. Talk not to me of being a leader here in Hades. I had rather be on earth with I would rather be on earth. Just read what it actually says, Anthony. I had rather be on earth the servant of some poor landless man than bear sway as a prince here among the ghosts of the dead, unquote. And that's from the Odyssey XI. In modern Irish fairy legends, those that have been carried off by fairies are always pining in misery in fairyland. Metempsychosis. Did I see that word being mentioned in a comment here momentarily? Yes. Michael P. Trott, we may be shortly about to answer your question. There's a fascinating story about a monk who goes down under the lake near Lochray and stays with the Sidhe there on and off and finally stays with them in the Silva Gaelica collection of stories. Yeah, well, that one that we were mentioning there is Silva Gaelica. This one in relation to Dian and the Fianna and Caillte at Mulla Sidhe. That's from Silva Gaelica 139, bottom it says. Metempsychosis. The foregoing observations regarding the pagan Irish notions of immortality after death apply in a great measure to their ideas of metempsychosis. In our romantic literature, there are legends of the rebirth of human beings, i.e., certain persons. Commonly, heroes or demigods were reborn and figured in the world with new personality, name, and character. Thus, Cuchulainn was reincarnated as the Dedanan hero god Lu of the long arms. In other cases, human beings after death took the shapes of various animals in succession and reappeared as human beings. Mongon of Rathmore Moylini, king of Dalriada in Ulster in the 7th century, a historical personage, was fabled to be a reincarnation of the great Finn MacCool of the 3rd century. This same Mongon went after death into various shapes: a wolf, a stag, a salmon, a seal, a swan, like the Welsh Taliesin. Fintan, the nephew of Partholon, survived the deluge and lived in the shapes of various animals successively for many ages, after which he was reincarnated in the 6th century as a man named Tuam Macaril. This Tuam was a celebrated sage, and no wonder, for he witnessed all the remarkable things that happened in Ireland from the time of Partholon, a lapse of some thousands of years, and related everything to Saint Finan of Moyville. Just looking for my pencil. The Irish, too, had their werewolf legends. It seems that there were certain persons among the inhabitants of Ossory who, whenever they pleased, took the shape of wolves and then ravaged and devoured cattle like real wolves, returning to their human shape when they thought they had enough of their pastime. Geraldus Cambrensis relates this great wonder in detail as Topographica Hibernia, section 2, XIX. as in operation in his own time, and believed every word of it. And the legend is mentioned in the Norse Speculum Regali, as applying to all the Osorians in turn. The wolf transformation is mentioned in a sermon on the resurrection in Laura Nahira, the oldest reference to it that we know. Stokes quotes from an old glossary the word conoil as meaning, quote, a woman that goes into wolf shape, and that is Conoel. And another old word pointing to a different transformation, conel, Conel, a woman that goes into the form of a little hound, or a coenrecht. In the 8th or 9th century story of the Feast of Brickrew, figures. I did read it right. In the 8th or 9th century story of the Feast of Brickrew, figures a character named Ua, Uath, of the Lake, Ua of the Lake, who was a sort of Irish Proteus. Quote, a man of great power indeed was that same Ua Mac Imovin, horror son of terror. Wow. Not sure that we're not reading Stephen King here. He used to transform himself, quote, into any shape pleasing to him, and he used to practice enchantment or druidism, and he was called the Siriche, elf man, from the great number of his transformations, unquote. Numerous stories of this kind are found in Irish romance, but I think the examples given here represent all the types of transformation believed in by the ancient Irish. These stories are scattered and have no thread of connection. They do not coalesce into a system. They are told of individuals in palpable exception to the general run of people, and many of them are stated to be the result of magical skill. There is no statement anywhere that all persons were reborn as human beings or underwent transformations after death. Stories of a similar kind are current among early nations. There are accordingly no grounds whatever for asserting that the ancient Irish believed in the doctrine of general metempsychosis, and this is also O'Curry's conclusion in Manners and Customs. So there you go. This section is section number 10, turning deiseal or Sunwise. Desiree is here. Hello, Desiree. Good afternoon to you. Hope you're in good form. Sneaking in late today. Hope all the two are well. Well, I think they're all in fine fettle. They were laughing at some of my jokes earlier on. And Josie is telling us there's a story about women coming out of the cave of Oinagat, that's at Rathcroghan, and they were in the form of wolves, and they were killed by the harper Knut, who lulls them to sleep magically with his harp. Wow. A bit creepy, though. That was from Akal of the Shadorok as well. We time for one more section. We do. The Celtic people were and still are accustomed to turn sunwise, i.e., from left to right, in performing certain rites. And the word deiseal was used to designate this way of turning from Deiss, D-E-S-S, now Jas, the right hand, deiseal or deiseol, right hand wise. This custom is very ancient and, like many others, has descended from pagan to Christian times. It was indeed quite as common among the Christian people as among the pagans, but all that is necessary to say about it I will say here. It was not confined to the Celts, for in classical writers we find numerous allusions to it as it was carried out by the Latins and the Greeks. Martin describes it as practiced in his day by the Scotic people of the Hebrides, and readers of Waverley will remember how the old leech made the deiseal by walking 3 times in the direction of the sun round the wounded Edward before beginning his examination of the wound. Even at this day, the Irish people, when burying their dead, walk at least once, sometimes 3 times, round the graveyard, sunwise, with the coffin. And that is something that is probably no longer done except for in very, very rural, remote parishes, but was certainly done in the 20th century. No wonder that the custom was generally adopted by our Christian ancestors, for their great apostle Patrick showed them the example. After he had been presented with the site of his future cathedral at Armagh by Dara on which then stood that chief's residence, the saint solemnly consecrated the whole place to the service of God by walking jeshel round the rath, holding in his hand the crozier, the staff of Jesus. We mentioned that recently. Bachal issue. We went down a rabbit hole. Was it last week or the week before? It was recently anyway. And followed in procession by all his attendant ecclesiastics. A century later, Saint Senan consecrated Scattery Island in like manner by walking right-hand-wise around it. Another half-century later, still, Saint Finchua, the warlike patron saint of Brigaun, or Bridgeown, happened once to be in Tara when a powerful force of British pirates landed on the coast and marched towards the palace, plundering all before them. Finchua rapidly organised a defence party and, directing them to march jeshel to meet the invaders, i.e. to make a roundabout right-hand-wise circuit, probably with the double object of complying with the old custom and of skillfully coming down on the enemy's flank. For Finchua was a born soldier, he accompanied them with martial ardour in his face, or as the old life vividly puts it, quote, so that sparkles of fire flew forth from his teeth, unquote, and falling unexpectedly on the marauders, made short work of them. And that's from Stokes's Lives of the Saints. The celebrated Cathach, the battle book or praeliator of the O'Donnells, was always borne 3 times right-hand-wise round their army before battle to assure victory. It was so employed as late as the 15th century. There are a few illustrations of the exercise of this jeshel custom by the ancient Irish, but they might be multiplied indefinitely. Sometimes persons went left-hand-wise, tufel or tuhal, with a sinister intention, as the Lady Boand went round Trinity Well, the Well of Necton, and we're familiar with that, I hope. Bowen monograph tells that story and the meaning of it. In Scotland, this left-hand turn is now called withershins, which is a Teutonic word. Shinne, Shinnewell, Conjugal air. And Gwayon Bach came from my local village back in Wales. So the legend says. Wow. What is... okay, did I miss something? So both Lexi and Barbara posted the same thing, which I don't understand. Hi, Blanche Knate. That's Lexi, and a short distance up, Barbara also said it. Knake or Knate? Knake. I'm so tired, way annoyed I had no sound anymore, but didn't realize I muted my phone by accident. Hey, you're busy cooking for like 1 million kids or baking, Monica. Yeah. I love hearing about the stories of my Irish and Scottish ancestors, says Scott Leigh Gibson. Well, this is this 275th episode. All of the other 274 are archived on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel if you would be interested in going back and hearing some of the other stories. Interesting that left is sinistra in Italian. Maybe there's a connection with sinister in this meaning. I think that is exactly the connection. Blanche is a friend in real life, and Facebook told us she was watching. Hello, Blanche, if you're watching. A very, very good evening from the Boyne Valley here in Ireland, where we're wrapping up. So I'm not sure who it was that was very excited. Oh, it was Irish technical thinker who's not here tonight, Marcus. He was very excited last year when I told him I was reading. I do sometimes read just for leisure. I was reading It by Stephen King. Well, I read for months and months and months and progressed up to about page 900. And then I stopped for some reason. But I went back to it recently and I finished. In the past few days, I finished It, which was... I need old reading glasses. The old lamps are not as good as they used to be, hey. Which is another way of saying the eyesight is not quite in the same condition it was 20 years ago. 1,166 pages. and finished reading that 2 days ago. And just for punishment, I decided to give The Stand a go, right? And this is, well, they're smaller pages with fewer words on them, but this runs to a total of it's not far off 1,500 pages. Well, it's 436, but yeah, I'm already on page 306. I, that's how much I've read already. I'm finding reading horror fiction engrossing. I think this one's sort of horror fantasy is probably not a good. Anyway, funny enough, The Stand is about a pandemic. There you go. And I just wonder while reading it, he talks about the paranoia about the government causing the pandemic. And of course, it did emerge from a government facility. We know that from the very start of the book. So just in case you haven't read The Stand and you feel that I might be spoiling it, in the very first few pages of the book, it becomes clear that the whole thing started in an army or a research, some sort of government military research facility. But I often wonder now, I've wondered about all the paranoia around the only major pandemic of the 21st century, thankfully, and hopefully the last one, not to be repeated. But I often wondered if the paranoia around that, emerges from such things. Maybe a lot of people who had read The Stand over the years, I think it was originally published in the 80s or something like that, but I often wondered whether the sort of wild theories about, mind you, I'm not so sure that it's a theory about the whole Wuhan lab thing and all of that. But anyway, without getting into that, because that's not what this channel is about, I will say one thing about this, that this is the complete and uncut edition. So this is, apparently, when King wrote this originally, his editor and publisher were happy with it, but the accountant said it's going to cost too much to print. There's going to be far too many pages, and we can only charge this much for a book, and we'll lose money on it. So they forced him to cut several hundred pages out of it. So apparently, this is the version in which there's no cut. He adds all of the cut stuff back into it. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Anyway, that's a little bit. Yeah, Maureen is telling us sinistra is left-handed in Latin. Dextra is right-handed. Sinistra is left in Latin. Dexter's is right. Art imitating life, or the other turn around, says Michael Trott. Possibly. Yeah. So that's how the character Dexter got his name. Many thanks once again, says Anne. Yes, well done finishing it and starting The Stand. I know, I do sometimes read for leisure, not for research, because I just need to take my mind off sometimes and take a break. By the way, says Monica, my family name is found or was found in Scotland and Ireland. Bad story. Knights who followed William the Conqueror and later Oliver Cromwell to those countries. Don't want to know what they did there. Oliver Cromwell and Drogheda, my hometown, my home city. Don't even read it. Actually, there's a historian here in Drogheda, Tom Riley's his name, who's well acquainted with me, who says that the alleged atrocities of Cromwell weren't, that they were grossly exaggerated, and he didn't kill innocent women and children as has often been claimed. So an interesting debate going on there. Well, I hope Blanche joins us for more episodes. It would be great to see her. Fabulous evening, including the jokes. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Alan. Have a good week, everyone, and take good care. And currently, take care in this currently troubled world. Yes, indeed. Great evening as always. Thank you. All it remains for me to say, apart from do sign up for the email newsletter, and please do consider becoming a patron. It's very important because these things are just simply not possible without support. Join the email mailing list on the website between now and tomorrow morning, and everybody who either has newly joined or is already a member of that mailing list will get a free €10 voucher for the website. So do it and enjoy it. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you all next week. In the meantime, all that remains for me to say, as it is just about getting dark here, from the Boyne Valley here in Drogheda in Cundelu, Eglan na Boine, uh, Cush, uh, close to Brunabonia. All that remains for me to say is yes, and to you, Desiree, I'm sorry that you weren't able to join us from the beginning, but you're getting your hello now. And of course, you can watch back from the start whenever you like. Good to see you. Ichawa Kulasov, Slán Gafol August Tog Bugay. Make sure of all of those things you do take it easy.